Welcome to the very first episode of the Cat Clan movie reviews. Today we're going to be looking at Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Cut, all 3 hours long of it.
Warning, this video may contain spoilers for Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
I watched this movie again last night. I saw the theatrical cut twice in the theater, and I gotta say that the Ultimate Edition is way better than the theatrical edition. It might be a little bit longer, but all in all I think that it balances out in the end. We're going to start with the pros of the movie first, and then we'll talk about the cons, just kind of give a balanced out, well-rounded review of what's in the movie and what should have been in the movie. So to start off, we're going to talk about the characters of the movie. Now, I really think that spelling. I really think that the Ultimate Edition explored a lot of the characters more than the theatrical edition. When I saw it in the theaters, there were a lot of side characters. There was a Russian dude, there was some African lady, there were a lot of different side characters that didn't have any place in the movie except one or two shots. And they were really just kind of lost. You had your main characters, you had Batman, you had Superman, you had Lois Lane even, but there wasn't really anyone that moved the plot along except for those people. And I really think that the Ultimate Edition did a good job of exploring these characters, their backgrounds, and their motives for helping who they did in the movie. I think that helped this movie a lot because it helped the plot convulse. It didn't just sit there and, oh, now Batman is fighting Superman because what? Why? Who? It made sense in the end. The whole Batman hates Superman because of this, and Superman wants to beat Batman up because of this. But while they did do a good job on the side characters, the main characters were really explored in the Ultimate Edition a lot better than in the theater when I saw it. For the main one that I noticed was Clark Kent. In the theatrical edition, you had like 2 or 3 shots in the movie where he went off and was supposed to report sports, but didn't, but we weren't sure what he was doing when he wasn't reporting sports. In the Ultimate Edition, you got to see a lot of what he was exploring in Gotham City and why he hated what Batman was doing so much. It was a really nice way to explore the background of that, and it made a lot of sense as to why he just was fighting Batman in the end. So the second thing I want to add to the list is the story. The continuity of the entire story was a lot better in the Ultimate Edition because there weren't weird scene jumps as many. The one shot tied really well into the progression of another, especially in the fight scene between Batman and Superman. There were a couple times where all of a sudden they were on the ground, and then they were on a roof, and then they were in a building. And it made a lot more sense this time when you could see they're on the ground, and then all of a sudden they're next to the building, and then they're on the roof of this building, and then they're inside the building. It tied together really nice, and it really worked well for the story because you could tell where one thing chained into another event. It made the thing move way more fluidly than the theatrical version had. It was not as weird and gross and left you thinking what was happening the whole time. My third plot is thinking. Now, there are a lot of superhero movies out there now, a lot, and Marvel has kind of dominated the big screen. They have, how many movies now? They're almost got 3 phases of movies. The next big one's like Infinity War. We got Doctor Strange coming out later this year. And I've noticed in a lot of these movies that they fight a lot. Like Captain America Civil War, it was fun. I wasn't one of the people who loved it more than the whole world, but it was something that Marvel hadn't quite tried yet. But one of the things that happened a lot was they fought. They added the Sokovia Accords and all that stuff, but there wasn't that oomph behind it. In Batman vs. Superman, there's not that much action. There's a lot more suspense and build-up in the whole movie, and then towards the last hour, you've got that intense, right at you, hit everything at once moment. But the build-up in the first 2 hours of the Ultimate Cut is just kind of, it swells inside your body, and you're like, wait, I understand what's happening now. This is why they hate each other, and Lex Luthor has long hair. And so the Ultimate Cut really made you think more rather than think what's happening. So I want to talk about the fighting. I think it was a really big pro because in Marvel movies, for example, I'll compare the two a lot because they're both superhero movies. In Marvel, you see a lot of high octane, fast, crazy, punch, dodge, counter, backflip, do a barrel roll things. And that it builds. You're like, wow, yeah, action, and then like 3-year-old kids are jumping in their seats and they're like punching their mom like, look, Mom, I'm Batman. Wrong franchise. I don't care. But in Batman vs. Superman, you could really tell that they were two big guys, and Superman had superhuman strength, and Armored Batman was an armored Batman, and like they just had volume to them when they hit each other and when they threw one another through walls, and when Batman would struggle to pick up the 300-pound muscle mass of Superman, and Superman would lift up this 8 billion-pound exoskeleton that Batman was wearing, and you were like, wow, he probably actually weighs something. It really added some volume and just realism to the movie when they were heavy and big and thick people. Because I'm sure in real life, Henry Cavill probably weighs 5 billion pounds of pure muscle. The last pro I want to talk about, the major pro, is the setting. Now, the setting in these movies is oftentimes really dark and just kind of and that was really the main theme of the theatrical version. And so when you left the theater, you were like, oh, now I'm sad. And you cry a little bit because you just watched a 2-hour movie with no color. In the Ultimate Edition, Clark Kent goes to Gotham City to investigate. And Gotham City actually has life to it, whereas in, like, if you played the Batman games, they're dark because they're set at night. Duh. But he goes in the daytime, and it's colorful and pretty and bright, and it just the extra scenes that are added in the Ultimate Cut really give the whole world that DC has built just some volume. The settings are beautiful. Even at night, the rain, and you've got the Daily Planet in Metropolis, and then you've got the big ship, and you've got Lex Luthor in his weird office house mansion thing, and then you've got some Jolly Ranchers, and it's pretty, and there's a whole variety of colors in these extra shots that have been added. Now I want to talk about the cons of Batman vs. Superman. Now, we're talking about the Ultimate Cut here, and I want to talk about how long it is. Now, I know that there are a lot of long movies. You've got all 6 of the Lord of the Rings movies that are over 3 hours long. The Titanic is like 1 billion hours long, I swear. The Revenant came out this year. It was probably 2 days long. Long movies exist. And Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Cut, it's 3 hours long. That's a long time to sit and watch a movie, and everyone does things with their lives. There's something else you could be doing. And the thing about that is, if you like movies, then why shouldn't you just sit and watch this movie for 3 hours? I mean, everyone has their thing. If you're impatient, then go do something. But Batman vs. Superman, the first 2 hours are a lot of plotting and mischievous people and character building, and there's a lot of build-up to the last hour of the movie. Well, there are some action sequences. You've got the Batman chase sequence, and you've got the first time you see Superman swoop in and save Lois Lane, and you've got these great scenes that keep you watching it because they keep the boredom away, I suppose, if you get bored easily. But one thing to remember about these first 2 hours is there's a lot of, this is why Superman wants to avenge his dad, or this is why Lex Luthor wants to protect his city, or there's a reason why it's so long, but you gotta build up to the thing. But 3 hours, it's still a long time, and I'm not sure there's enough to just keep you going the whole time. I wouldn't watch this movie twice in a row, because that's 6 hours of, look, some stuff. Yay. Now I want to talk about the quality of, like, CGI and animation and stuff. And I realize that it can be hard to animate movies and games, and it's a lot of work and it's expensive. But towards the end of the movie, there were times like Batman's armored suit, sometimes it was real and sometimes it was CGI'd, and it was pretty obvious to tell when it was CGI'd. The rain also was a really big killer because it didn't look real. It just kind of totally ruined the whole moment. Batman's facing Superman on a thing and he's punching him and they're attacking, and then all of a sudden it's not a real Batman and he flies through the air in the fake rain and you're like, oh, that's not real, and it totally ruins the immersion of the movie. I think that if that could have been just kind of like given some more into, then the CGI could look fantastic. I mean, you've got the Batwing and you've got Superman's flying around, his laser eyes, Doomsday looks great. I mean, the CGI looks wonderful, but when it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good. It ruins the whole just, wow, movie part of it. And that's a really big killer in it just, the immersion is cut. So the last con I want to throw out there, and I'm not sure that it's a reason I wouldn't watch this movie, but it's definitely not a reason I would watch this movie, is Lois Lane. Now, the thing about Lois Lane is I didn't like how much she did in the movie, because it felt like she investigated a whole lot, and it didn't really mean anything in the end. Like, in the end, you had Bruce Wayne, who had forged this kryptonite spear because he wanted to prevent Superman from ever killing everyone again, and he wanted to save the planet from Superman's awful regime. Then you had Lex Luthor, who decided, you know, we've got monsters in the world, why don't we make a way to protect ourselves from them? So he got the kryptonite, and he followed out through his plan. And then you've got Superman, you've got Henry Cavill, does a great job at Clark Kent. You've got Clark, he goes through and he finds out that Batman is terrorizing Gotham, essentially. And he goes and he investigates that further, and then he finds out Batman is being mean and rude and branding people. So he wants to stop Batman from being evil. And then they do the whole save your mom thing and fight and stuff like that. But Lois Lane investigates a bullet, and then it leads to Lex Luthor, but then it drops. The whole finding a bullet thing, finding some chair thing, and it didn't mean anything in the end, which was a really, it didn't sell anything for me. I did not like Lois Lane in this movie, and her chemistry was great with Henry Cavill, but it didn't feel like her and Superman were never in a relationship, it felt to me. They hugged a lot, they kissed once or twice. He jumped in her bathtub and she was like, oh no, you'll flood the apartment. But other than that, it never felt like she had any relationship with any of the characters. And that kind of bothered me, but overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give the Ultimate Cut an 8.5. Because there are more pros than cons, and it's much better than the theatrical release. If you saw it in the theaters and you were like, man, that movie was dumb, it didn't make any sense, go watch the Ultimate Cut. It'll take 3 hours of your life out of probably a lot more than 3. If you only live for 3 hours, you should not have watched this video. Do something with your life that's fun, rather than sit here and watch me talk. But if you did watch it in the theater and you liked it, I also recommend watching the Ultimate Cut. You'll love it after that. I really liked the Ultimate Cut, but it's not one that I will watch over and over and over because it's long. That's a long time to watch this movie. Overall, 8.5. It's better. The Ultimate Cut is much better than the theatrical release. I will definitely say that. Thank you for sitting through this rambling of nonsense and movie writing on a chalkboard and some talking and stuff and voice. But this has been the Cat Clan Movie Reviews. We're gonna throw out some more of these. We're gonna do some more videos and expand the channel and reach and movies, and it'll be good. So thanks for sticking around. We will see you in the next one.
It's showtime.
don't even know what you're doing, scrub.